Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
It's me, Egbert, once again. I'm the new owner of this station. I went out and hired the best talk radio consultant, Jeff Allen from News Talk STL, and told him to hire the worst talent he could find. Jeff did exactly as I told him. Ladies and gentlemen, here are Brad and John.
Our boss, good old Mr. Egbert, is nothing but complimentary, isn't he?
Well, he's going to be replaced by AI pretty soon, from what I heard.
Yes. We'll show him, right?
You know what? All we have to do is put the phrase AI in our next quarterly report, and our stock is going to go to the moon, Brad. That's all you have to do is just say AI.
You know what bothers me, John?
What's that?
You being the stock market guru. Does this remind you of another time in history? Maybe about 25 years ago right now?
Let's see. Oh, with the .com boom.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's not forget, Brad, in 2021, I'm old enough to remember 3 years ago when people got pandemic checks and started putting it all in Robinhood and started betting on tiny stocks and GameStop and AMC and all this stuff. And we're having another moment. I say we because I'm involved in the markets with a couple nickels and dimes I rub together. But I watch the markets pretty closely. And, yeah, we're just in another one of the – NVIDIA reported earnings last night, and NVIDIA is going to send the market maybe – to all-time highs today.
Yeah, I see, and I do follow this stuff. What NVIDIA was reported earnings after the bell closed, and they were up, $5 or 5% or something like that, or up 5%?
Yeah, but NVIDIA's had a hell of a run, and NVIDIA is now a huge company, but they've become a meme stock, like GameStop and other companies were. And by meme stock, I mean that on a lot of these internet message boards and social media, guys will get together to pump a stock's price, and as long as the stock goes up, everybody makes money. But anyway, I fade these rallies and I short these rallies. So today is as my favorite investor, Keith McCullough, says, today is not a day to do nothing, Brad.
Okay, interesting story. You mentioned the Robinhood thing. One of the companies that Robinhood pushed in the meme stock, so to speak, was KOSS, K-O-S-S. Remember this one?
Oh, yeah. They had a hand in NFTs, didn't they?
No, I don't think.
KOSS was COVID, like air masks, right?
No. See, this is interesting. This is once upon a time when I first got
a St. Louis company. Yep.
No. They're in Milwaukee. Once upon a time when I first got in the radio business, you were a real DJ when you had your set of KOSS Pro 4 AA headphones. KOSS was this groundbreaking company that sort of modernized, and what's so bizarre about this, they modernized the modern day headphone, which had ear sealing cups, because in the old days there was these headphones they called Clevites. That was really the name of the company, and they were horrible headphones. And KOSS came up with this idea. Matter of fact, the original KOSS Pro 4 AA, which were at the time, I bought my first pair back in 1973. I think it cost me $100 back in 1973, okay? And they had oil-filled cushion cups, and they were really good headphones. And KOSS owned the headphone market for years and years and years until Dr. Dre and people like that came along, and, Beats, and then you have, Sony and all the other companies. And KOSS and most of their headphones were still made in the United States, still made in Milwaukee. And KOSS has been a family-owned company. I think the majority of the stock is still owned by the KOSS family, the second, third generation, stuff like that. And that became one of the meme stocks. And immediately I thought to myself, I know that company real well.
I just looked that up. You're right, Brad. It's not the company I was thinking of. You're right.
The crazy thing about this is that you can still go on, and I did this about a year ago, you can still go on. Matter of fact, I will do it right now to make sure that I'm not speaking untruths, because, I would never say anything that was bogus whatsoever.
Of course, Brad.
I can go on here onto Amazon, KOSS Pro 4 AA, Pro 4. Now, the AAAs sucked. The AAs were really good. Here it is, KOSS Pro 4 AA, okay? There they are right now. Koss Pro 4 AA studio quality over-the-ear headphones, retro style, full-size beige. Now, they say they're currently unavailable. Now, to give you an idea, it shows there are 876 ratings on this, and they have essentially looks like they got like a 4.6 or 4.7, stuff like that. The Koss Pro 4S, which is another upgrade of the studio headphones, are available. They're $99, but the Koss KOSS Pro 4 AA's are incredible headphones, and that was the company that pioneered the modern day headphone. And what's interesting about it is we went through the whole thing where we went with earbuds. Now what are we back to? We're back to the earphones that cover your entire ear. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah, the noise canceling. And I remember seeing them a few years ago, like the Beats by Dre headphones, and thinking nobody's going to wear those. You look like a giant nerd from the 80s, and they're so popular.
Right. Okay, couple things to talk about before we end the show. First one is, I saw this article yesterday, and this is out of the Kansas City, the Kansas City Star?
Yep.
The headline on the article I saw was, columnist calls for Harrison Butker, who helped Chiefs win three Super Bowls, to be replaced by female kicker.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It's one of those cute girl power gimmicks, right? I didn't click on the story.
Right. Kansas City Star guest columnist wrote that the Kansas City Chiefs should replace three-time Super Bowl winning kicker Harrison Butker with a woman because they did not like his commencement speech. Peter Ham specifically pointed to a part when Butker addressed the women in the audience at Benedictine College in Kansas. Butker said in his faith speech he was able to speak to the school because his wife leaned into her vocation. And he goes on to say, this is interesting, his column, he goes on to say, look at these great female kickers that are, they're all, like he said, they said, take a look at Manitoba kicker Maya Turner, who has 11 for 14 in 6 appearances, okay? She plays in the Canadian Football League, okay? She's 11 for 14. And right, like she's got a lot of experience. This is what this guy says. She may end up ready to kick in the NFL. Is she a good kicker as Butker, who was the second best overall all-time field goal success ratio? Not yet, Ham wrote, but she's got 3 more years at college level to keep getting better. Come on.
Oh, yeah. It's so silly. But you know what? The other thing is what I love about this, and Brad, this is something to add to our lexicon too. This is the overall concept of white knighting, and the whole concept of you can reply to most of these guys by just saying, I hope she sees this, bro. Like it's guys who take an issue and say, I'm not like those other guys. Harrison Butker's a jerk. Right, girls? Right, girls? I'm different than the other guys. I believe in empowerment. You'll date me, right?
He also goes on.
I'm not some sad sack who lives in my mom's basement who's very pale and slightly overweight. Date me. I'll bring you flowers. I promise.
I'll take you to Red Lobster as long as they're open, right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. If I got a coupon.
I'll even let you have as many biscuits as you want, right?
Hey, you saw they're going out of business, right, Brad?
Yeah, well, that's sad. Okay.
Go ahead.
I interrupted you. He also promotes New Mexico State kicker Kate Hinda. And once again, I mean, these are all division. I mean, these are, once again, I have no qualms that there are capable kickers, and women who place kicked. And there have been women place kickers and field goal kickers on college and high school and stuff like that. But once again, let's be honest. When you make the pros, it's the creme de la creme de la creme de la creme de la creme.
Oh, of course.
And what's interesting is, just like I said the other day, at the very end of this story, it talks about the fact that that they're making all sorts of fun about the fact that get rid of Harrison Butker. Okay. He was 33 for 35 on field goal attempts, good for 94.3% of his makes. He made every extra point attempted. He didn't miss one extra point. He hit a 60-yard field goal in 2023. Now get this. This is the point I made. Butker also made 4 field goals in Super Bowl against the San Francisco 49ers, including a 57-yard field goal that set a Super Bowl record. He also tied the game with 3 seconds left with a 29-yard field goal. Without him, the Kansas City Chiefs are not the Super Bowl champs. So would you say he's, at this point in time, not replaceable? I mean,
yeah, but don't let facts get in the way of a good story.
Right. Yeah. Once again, I'm going like, now what's interesting is I read an interesting article yesterday about the Miami Dolphins head coach, and he essentially told his players, he didn't say what Harrison said was right or wrong. He essentially said to them, keep in mind what you say could be how you are remembered for the rest of your life. And he gave the example of the two athletes who gave the Black Power signal during the 1980 Olympics or stuff like that. And he also talks about the Colin Kaepernick issue, that people don't remember that he used to be this incredible quarterback. All they remember is Colin Kaepernick kneeling on the sidelines and stuff like that. And I get that point as well, too. I mean, the idea being is, and unfortunately, with most famous people, there are always things that sort of in our brain key our memory to that person. Like, for example, to a lot of people, when you think of Trump, you think of Orange Man Bad, right?
Yeah. When you think of Hugh Grant, you think of Divine Brown.
Right. And that's a little. And the problem is John's a nerd because most people have no idea what that meant, right? They would probably go.
Well, because he was married. Who was the hot chick he was with? Hot brunette.
Yeah. I can't remember her name.
I can't think of her name. Anyway, she was super hot.
Right.
And then, but he I guess he was into black women, and he picked up a black prostitute named Divine Brown. First of all, if you meet a chick whose name is Divine or Heaven, and she's not on stage at one of Brad's favorite places in Sauget, she's either lying about her name or her mom made a bad choice in the naming department.
Okay. Second thing to talk about. If it's not tough enough for us in the broadcasting business, the FCC, I will read you a headline from one of my trade publications. FCC considers disclosures for AI-generated political ads on radio and TV.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so here we go again, okay? And I'll give you a perfect example. If you are running for office and you want to run an ad on Facebook or YouTube or any of the other social media channels, you don't have to do any paperwork. If you run an ad on my radio station or any other radio station or TV station, the station has to do all this paperwork. We have to file it with the FCC, has to go on the website. And if you don't do it right, there have been stations that have been literally had what they called the death penalty issued to them, or at least the threat of the death penalty. They have had essentially the FCC saying, we are taking your license away from you because you did not properly disclose that candidate A bought X amount of advertising. Okay, so now what the FCC wants to do is they want us, and this is proposed rulemaking. This has not made it in, but the lady who runs the FCC, this is her big deal. She wants to do this. Us as broadcasters, if John is running for office and he comes to me and says, Brad, I'd like to advertise in your station, I say, John, I'm going to send you out the NAB form, which is the National Association of Broadcasters form, which you have to fill out, and I have to countersign, you have to sign, you have to tell me who your candidate chairman is and all that kind of stuff. We have to file that online with the FCC. Under this new rule, you would also have to file a form with me telling me that A, some of my content is AI generated, or B, none of my content is AI generated. But what's interesting about it is, if a candidate, let's say John, hired some company to AI do an ad for him, which is a video ad, it's going to run on YouTube, but it has an audio track. If John were to hire an AI company and essentially, let's say his candidate is, John's running against Divine Brown. Wouldn't that be an interesting race? John's running against Divine Brown, and he hires an AI company, and the AI company takes her image and her voice, and they create an ad saying things like, I think that Hitler was the best person in the world ever.
Yeah.
And I think that everyone in Missouri should be thrown in jail because they live in a hick state. John could say, see what a crazy woman Divine Brown is? Don't vote for her, vote for me. Okay, that ad would be perfectly okay on YouTube or X or Twitter, but on radio and TV, And the interesting part of this is, the crazy part of this is that this would be the first exception to the rule that us as broadcasters cannot edit content. There's the classic case of Barry Commoner, who for a while was a presidential candidate. He used to be a professor at SIU. He was on the Green Party. He came up with an ad. This is going way back when. He came up with an ad that he ran on network radio where he comes on the air and he says, BS, BS, BS. but he doesn't use the initials. He uses
the bad words.
He uses the full bull, blah, 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 bull, SH blank, blank, T. And the radio stations had to run it. Now, if John would say that word on the air, there's a very good chance that the station could get fined. But because it was political candidate, well, that's okay. So this would be essentially the first exemption where if this rule would pass, and if you said to me, let's say John, the candidate, comes to me and says, hey, I want to run this ad. And I said, well, is any part of it AI generated? Yeah, the whole thing's AI generated. John, sorry, can't run that ad. Is that crazy?
Now, so do you think this is a case of this woman at the FCC wanting to get in front of the issue and make this her legacy or get a lot of headlines? Or do you think, I mean, you can't read people's minds. Do you think this is legitimate, or do you think she's like, look at us, we're in front of all the other rulemaking agencies, we are leaders, we are superior?
Okay, I will read her exact quote, and you can figure out what you want from this.
Okay.
Quote, as artificial intelligence tools become more accessible, the Commission, FCC, wants to make sure consumers are fully informed when the technology is used. Today, I've shared with my colleagues a proposal that makes clear consumers have a right to know when AI tools are being used in the political ads they see, and I hope they swiftly act on this issue. So in other words, she's essentially saying that you as Joe consumer are stupid enough to not realize that the ad that John created from an AI bot is just that. But once again, the crazy part of this is that, already you've got situations where you've got actors, and the federal rule is on national ads. You probably hear this, that it's on a TV ad, the face of the actual candidate has to appear, and the disclaimer is, I'm Joe Biden and I approve of this message. And then you have to do paid for by XYZ for some political committee. Matter of fact, have I ever played one of my favorite all-time things that my ex-boss did? What the generic
yeah, it's really good.
The generic TV. It was the audio.
Yeah, you've tweeted it. You've posted it. Yeah, you've posted it before. It's really good.
So I'm thinking to myself, and here, the problem broadcasters are saying, look, we already have a problem where sometimes, and I've had this happen, we've had clients that have advertised on the station before, and they're very hesitant to sign this document because they're going like, okay, where's this going to go? And we tell them, right now it's going to go on the FCC website. And can anybody see this? Yes, anybody can see this. Sometimes they don't want to do that. They'll go, well, I don't want anybody to know how much money I'm spending on your radio station. So now they want to take it one step further. And instead, some of the advertisers, the people running for office, are going like, I can put my ad on YouTube, Facebook, X, whatever, and they don't care.
No restrictions.
And no restrictions. So why should I buy your crummy little local radio station I got to jump through all these hoops when I don't have any hoops to jump through on any of the social media platforms?
The sole workaround as we wrap up the show, Brad, is that the only person that doesn't have to worry about this is Holly Rader, because no one, even AI, can simulate her Southern drawl. And you can contribute to her Southern Drawl pack. And you can purchase her book, Cinder Girl, on Amazon.
Say goodbye, John.
This message has not been brought to you by Hallie Thompson Rader.
Say goodbye, John.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?